What's up everybody, Smooth Cosplayer here, your favorite salsa dancing cosplayer. Now, if you guys have been following me on my channel for long enough, you know that when it comes to my cosplays and the characters that I pick, I don't like to, nothing against this, no shade at all to people who do a lot of mainstream or popular, overdone characters. Do what you do, no hate from me. That's just not my thing. I joked in, I don't know if I joked about this in a previous video or not, but I've probably said it before, that none of my cosplays are characters where I would be able to wear them to a regular Halloween party and people will recognize who I was. Like, none of my characters are that popular or that recognizable. I always tend to go the road less traveled. I always tend to cosplay characters that aren't overdone, are not the obvious choice out of that fandom. Characters, you know, just underappreciated and underrated characters. But as I mentioned in a previous video when I did my cosplay spotlight and Wrong Cosplay Wednesday on Rude from Final Fantasy VII, I mentioned how a lot of times I don't get recognized as that character. So that's what comes with the territory when you choose obscure characters, characters that aren't that popular, or even if you do an OC, an original character, kind of like I do with my Jam Master Jedi cosplay. You always run the risk of people not recognizing you. You run the risk of people misidentifying your character. So that kind of comes with the territory. Now, for me, I'm not gonna say I never get annoyed, but I go into these cosplays knowing that I'm not gonna get recognized. Like when I cosplay as Bishop from X-Men, I do an obscure version of him, one that's not. It's a version that if you think of Bishop, that's not the first costume that comes to mind. Same thing with my Psylocke. I wear a costume that when you think of Psylocke, you don't think of that costume. Even my most popular one, Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes, like, people know who Snake Eyes is, but he's not on like a Superman, Wolverine, Goku level, you know, like, not people recognize him, but he's not a lot of people are gonna be like, ooh, Snake Eyes. Excuse me. So that is one thing you have to think about when you decide to do an obscure character, a unpopular character, or an original character. You have to know that people are going to either misidentify your character, or that people are going to just not even recognize you at all, or somebody will be like, who are you? Or hopefully they don't say it in that tone. They'll say, I'm sorry, what character are you, or who are you dressed as? Now, if you're going to do an obscure character, unpopular character, original character, two things: know yourself and know your audience. Okay, so that first one is something my dad always told me: know yourself. What that means is know your tendencies, know how you feel about things, know what you are going to do, know what you're not going to do in any given situation. So how that applies to doing an obscure character, this is no shade to anybody who I'm about to describe, but ask yourself if you're the kind of person who not just thrives on, but depends on the attention you get when you're wearing that cosplay. If you're the type of person who is going to feel dejected, down in the dumps, if your self-esteem is going to be shot if you go to that con and nobody recognizes your character, very few or no people ask you for a picture, people just walk by you and don't even acknowledge the character that you are. I'm not saying don't do the character, but I am saying you may want to reconsider or just prepare yourself for that. Okay, because yeah, like I said, you wear an obscure character, an original character, or something like that, you may not get recognized. When I wear Rude, again, I go all day without being called that character. When I wear Bishop, unless I'm with other X-Men characters, people will ignore the fact that there's an X on my belt and there's an M on my face, and a lot of people might not recognize me as Bishop. I get a few people, but you know, for the most part, I go a long time without being asked for pictures or without being recognized. And me, I'm okay with that. I'm happy with my work, and if nobody tells me good job, or if nobody says, hey Bishop, or if nobody asks me for a picture, I'm totally fine. That's not everybody. Again, no shade to the people who are on the opposite end of that, but that's something you have to take into account when you wear that cosplay. So yeah, if that's going to ruin your day to not get asked for a picture, or to have people not know who you are, you gotta think long and hard about that. You don't set yourself up for failure. Like I said, know yourself. Know that that's going to be a problem for you if you do that. The other thing is know your audience. It's kind of linked to the last one. It's kind of linked to knowing yourself. I'll give y'all an example. I wore my Snake Eyes cosplay to the church I used to go to. We had a Halloween party. You know, we weren't that kind of we weren't super stuck up religious to where you don't ever celebrate Halloween at all or have any kind of celebration for it. So I wore my Snake Eyes to the party. And for some weird reason, I decided to pick that day to stay in character. So I didn't talk. As long as I had my mask on, I didn't talk at all. So nobody recognized me. Nobody knew who I was. And of course, it's hard to explain to people who you are when you're trying to be in character, because Snake Eyes doesn't talk. Snake Eyes, he, was in a bad helicopter accident. Explosion blew up the windshield in his face, damaged his vocal cord, scarred his face, so that's why he can't talk. So it's hard to explain to people that I'm Snake Eyes when I can't talk. So maybe all of that ruined the experience for me, but my lesson there was I'm not wearing Snake Eyes to a random Halloween party, or if I do it, I go into it knowing nobody's gonna know who I am. So knowing your audience. So like I said, very few of my cosplays would be recognized at such a function. So a lot of times, a lot of cosplayers don't like. A lot of them do like Halloween because I already got something ready for it, and some of them don't. I don't particularly care about Halloween just because I know I don't want to spend half the party explaining who I am. So another way to know, talking about knowing your audience. If you're going to, like, say there's Joe Con, or there used to be Joe Con, now there's like Toy Fest, aka Joe Fest in Augusta. Not saying you can't wear a G.I. Joe costume to that convention, but that's all I would wear to it. And if you wear something that's not G.I. Joe there, you might not get recognized. Likewise, if I wear one of my G.I. Joe cosplays to Anime Week in Atlanta, especially if it's something not Snake Eyes, if I wore Snake Eyes might get recognized there, but if I wore my Cobra Viper there might be people who wouldn't recognize them. If you go to any kind of themed convention and you wear something that's not that theme, I think you have it's totally within your rights to do that. There's some people who think otherwise. There's some people who will really side-eye you for not wearing the right, genre of costume, which I think is ridiculous. But anyway, you do run the risk of not being recognized. And if that's important to you, if being recognized is important to you, again, you got to rethink that. So yeah, that's just a little bit of advice to those of y'all who like or want to do unpopular characters, characters that aren't overused, characters who aren't mainstream, characters who are obscure, or just playing your original character. Just know yourself, know whether or not you are going to be down in the dumps about not getting recognized, all that good stuff. So just, think about that. That's it for me tonight, guys. Y'all have a good night. Y'all have a good time, whatever con you're going to next. Good luck on your cosplay builds. Please hit that like button, that subscribe button, that share button, and I'll see y'all at the next video. Peace.